All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And welcome to a Friday show. I know. I can't believe it either. We packed like a month's worth of events into this week.
This is it.
Yeah.
Mark's Madness is over.
It is over. Kim seems a little hot to me.
Yeah.
In addition to her natural heat, Tony.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. Tony's back today, everybody.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, so maybe he's good at like leveling out all the levels. Leveling the levels? Yeah. In any case, we've got Kim, we've got Tony, and the commish supposedly is going to join for a few minutes to crown the new champion of Mark's Madness. Yeah, it's pretty big time. I think there might be some ties involved. I don't know. I haven't really looked, but we'll get right to it. And after that, an insanely good Florida. Friday Fabulous Florida has nudity. It has gators. Ooh. It has a machete. I mean, it's got a lot of great stuff. So that happens bottom of the hour. I don't need to tell you what's happening in Washington, in Tennessee, in Idaho. There's news from all around the country. And we will cover it all with Michael Shure and Jim Avila when they join. And the Culture Blaster as well joins, as you know, to review movies. That comes at 11:35. So much to do. Let's get to it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I ask you, Tony, is the commish there? Because I cannot see.
I see him. Yeah, he's there.
Let me put my
I'll add him to the
glasses
stream.
on. All right.
I'm adding him to the stream now.
I'd like to welcome the commissioner of Mark's Madness, Albert, and he has...
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yes.
The wisdom of Albert.
He does have news today of the championship.
Albert, thank you.
And we want to welcome him now. Albert, everyone. Albert, it is with the greatest seriousness and the greatest sense of gratitude that I welcome you, because I know you're calling from your real job. And so I only have you for a brief second. But I wondered if you could share with us a little bit of the results. And if you could review for me, please, what was playing off against each other.
Of course. So we had our favorite, Where Are My Weed Smokers versus Why Are You Yelling?
Oh, yeah. Where Are My Weed Smokers?
Where are my weed smokers at?
Against...
Why are you yelling?
But that wasn't... That wasn't last night, was it? I thought... Are you there, Commish? Did I lose the commissioner? I've lost the commissioner? Have I lost everybody?
I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay.
I think it was
Yeah.
Why Are You Yelling versus
No.
Good Day, Sir, wasn't it?
You know something? It was...
I don't know.
No. Oh, yeah, it was Why Are You Yelling versus Good Day, Sir. You're right. I think that's correct. God, isn't that wild? I've got so much going on.
Or maybe it was Weed. No, it was Weed versus
Oh, my God.
Good Day, Sir.
There he is.
Albert,
He's back.
I'm having to listen to Kim.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm
Kim
sorry.
wasn't
It's
even in
good-
the competition.
I don't even know.
I'm sorry. It was Good Day, Sir. Good Day, Sir, and Where Are My Weed Smokers At?
Thank
See,
you.
I was right.
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, all right. So Kim was right. So, Kim, well done.
Kim, how are you?
All right, again, can we start from the beginning? This is outrageous. I don't understand this.
All right, start from the top.
It's
I'll
so-
start
Why
the
are
music
you
over.
All right,
Are we going from the top or...
Albert, review for us again. It was
Where are my weed smokers at?
versus
Good day, sir.
It was Weed or Good Day, Sir. What were the percentages and what was the winner, please?
It was about 64% actually to Good Day, Sir. So Good Day, Sir is the 2023 Mark's Madness.
Good day, sir.
Wow. So it's Good Day, Sir. So, Albert, tell me then who in our competition, yeah, that's where that came from. Tony's showing everybody there have been questions about where did it come from? Good Day, Sir. It came from Willy Wonka. Albert, the real thing that I wanted to ask you about as the commissioner, I know I only have like 2 minutes left with you, is to speak to what was really a close competition here to the very end, and the competition for not only first place, but second, third, fourth, and fifth places.
Of course, yeah. So it was really close, and upon entering the results, it actually separated the pack. So there's a definitive 5. I was a little nervous about the placings here and having to talk with some of our participants, but there is a separate, starting with 5th place, Janet R. Congrats to Janet R.
Janet R. in 5th place, everybody. Nice job, Janet R.
Yep.
All right.
And then next we got former champion, another great showing, Sayo Jones at 4th place.
Sayo Jones! She was in the leader spot, I think, tied with Daniel for a long time during this competition, but
yeah, she was in
ends up
first. She actually superseded you at first when you had your perfect racket. So
yes,
I
and
don't know if
superseded is a ding word.
I believe that's
right.
my first ding word.
Yeah, it is your first ding word.
Humboldt
Many more to
students,
come.
University education, everyone.
So she was in 4th place, you're saying, Sayo.
4th place, yep.
Okay.
And then rounding out the top 3 with the bronze medal, we have Edward. Edward, very respectable, 22 correct.
Edward, nice job, sir. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. And what happened in 3rd place, sir? I mean, that was third.
That was third.
Yeah. What happened in 2nd place?
2nd place, we have Travis here, who also had 22 wins, but he had more dogs in the fight towards the end, so he got a couple more points.
Oh, that's the key. There were some Travis. Congratulations. You had to make some key tactical decisions as to what was actually going to win in the competition. And so those who had, for example, those who had Good Day, Sir, as a possible winner were positioned to get more points at the end of it all without getting too more complicated than that. So Travis is in 2nd place?
Yep, Travis. And then the guy we've been speaking about this whole time. He's been in 1st. He stayed there. Daniel. Daniel is here, our number 1, the bracket winner here, 1st place.
Daniel really rocked the show. Gotta say, he sent me an email. It was a very kind of sportsmanlike email saying, whatever happens, it's been fun, and thanks for your enthusiasm. It was really cool. So he's clearly a good guy. And
he also apologized on my behalf for not being there. So shout out to Daniel for apologizing for me when the producer was not around.
Yeah, well, it's really cool. I think that, though I will say, I don't think you should apologize.
I don't think
apologize
you
for how you
should
feel.
apologize for how you feel.
I also was going to say, Albert, are you clear? And I know I only have like another 30 seconds with the commissioner, but what is everybody receiving? And Kim, maybe you can help with this. I think there's a Tenuta Vineyard package or some kind of.
You get to choose. Would you like
new car? No, it's not a new car. It's not a new car.
Would you like the Why Are You Yelling Red?
Oh.
Or would you like I think it's called the Who's Mark Thompson Pinot Grigio?
Yeah, it's which one of you is Mark
Hey,
Thompson?
which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Do you ever get the sense that Kim has just joined the show? About a day ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's something about Mark Thompson, white.
Hey, I think Brett's available if you'd rather.
I adore you, and that's why I'm so hurt by the fact that you don't know my Pinot Grigio title.
Jesus.
My God. Anyway, I think that.
Why are you yelling?
I think that the winners then, Kim, will get to be in touch with us, you're saying, and have a choice of one or the other?
Right. You'll get a contact email from the lovely people at Tenuta Vineyards, and they will ask your preference, and then we'll get your address to them, and then we'll ship your wine to you.
I love it. Now that is sticking the landing. Thank you. Now, Albert, as commissioner,
I will personally give you my love and respect, a little more than the other listeners. So
wow, well,
that's all I can offer you. And we do have the mug. The mug is available now. The championship mug for. I just got news right now during this call that the mug is available.
Oh, that's awesome. So how does that mug work? It will actually say, it'll have the winning phrase, in this case, good day, sir?
Good day, sir!
And what's on the mug? Okay. All right.
I'm guessing it says, I did click away. That's why I left the stream, because I did get the news. I was like, I want to see this. But it actually kicked me out of the stream. So I won't do that, but maybe
Oh, there it is. It's on the website, getmarkmerch.com. A good day, sir mug. I love it. Good day, sir. The winner of Mark's Madness 2023
Good day, sir.
exists on the website, getmarkmerch.com. Very, very cool. Well, Albert, it's not easy to ride herd over all of this. You have to put the seedings together. You have to update those seeds. You have to really get this entire thing organized and then continue to keep it organized while you're working your real job.
And I know there's a lot of talk, and Michael Snyder will be on the show today, and he was the favorite in the celebrity bracket. I will review the celebrity brackets over the weekend, and we'll have a huge announcement, another major announcement on Monday.
That is terrific. So the celebrity bracket, if you were wondering, Brett, well, you can see where I ended up. I ended up way down. But in the celebrity bracket, we'll see. It's Brett, myself, Michael Shure. Michael Snyder was the odds-on favorite to win, as Albert says. Spencer Christian. Albert is keeping those separately, and he'll have an announcement on that on Monday. Albert, have a great weekend, and thank you again for riding herd over this. As I say, it's very difficult. We have fun with it, but it's actually work, and Albert does that work. So
Albert, thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Have fun with Florida today. I'm looking forward to
All right, thank you.
to
Yes, Albert's put together an insane Florida segment, so he is the great one. Albert, everybody, the commissioner.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice job, Commish.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Wow, it really was exciting, Kim. I mean, we had a couple of false starts there at the beginning. Maybe that only just built the drama more, you know.
Sadly, now it's over.
Yeah. Well, there'll be other things that we'll do, but Mark's Madness stands on its own, and it is a singular event. Yeah. Kim's health is something that we are concerned about, to be perfectly honest.
Kim, how are you?
Now, yesterday, Kim was at the doctor. She finally went after 2 weeks holding out.
Yeah.
What did the doctors say, Kim?
The doctor said it looks like maybe a sinus infection, so I got some antibiotics, and I'm hoping it clears up.
Did the doctor mention that if you could just get some more Patreon and PayPal contributions to
I believe that was part of the diagnosis for the cure. Yes.
The doctor said, Kim, I think the reason it's lingering so long, I don't know how to tell you this, but we'd like to get just a few more PayPal and Patreon supporters to the Mark Thompson Show. You know, the doctor said, I can tell you're crowd-funded by your sinuses.
Yes.
And with crowd-funded sinuses, you need the crowd. And you need the funding. And so on this day, after Kim's doctor's appointment, I feel bound, responsible to tell you that if you want to support this show, it is crowd-funded, and you can fund and help Kim at themarkthompsonshow.com. Click the Patreon or PayPal link to join our community and make a contribution. Again, themarkthompsonshow.com. Click the Patreon or PayPal link, and you can help Kim get better soon. Thank you.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It has been a wild week in terms of revelations around the nation's highest court. I told you this news now, it was the beginning of the day yesterday, or the days run together, maybe it was 2 days ago. The ProPublica piece, I put it on my Twitter feed, I think, within hours of it hitting. And if you didn't read it, I mean, we gave you all the essential elements. You have a corrupt Supreme Court justice, and I'd suggest that the system by which these Supreme Court justices ultimately ascend to those seats, that system is corrupt. You have corrupt politicians who are lying about wanting objectivity, about being neutral, wanting the scales of justice to be even. And you have those who are candidates for those seats on the court, the vacant seats on the court. You have them lying. You have them lying during their confirmation process. They talk about the abortion ruling, Roe v. Wade is settled law, when it's clearly an agenda item front and center once they get into the high court. I mean, that, gay rights, gerrymandering, whatever it might be. And all of these things the High Court has voted on. And that leaves aside the insanely corporate-friendly nature of this Supreme Court and this configuration of conservative, as they're called, justices. I mean, I would even challenge that label. But one of the things that you don't hear about, but it does go on, is the corruption of that court in so many different ways. Sometimes it's an ideological corruption, right? Which is, I mean, it's all ideological on one level, right? The right-wing Federalist Society populates the court with those that they know will actually produce the decisions they want. I mean, the Federalist Society gave Trump a list of potential justices, and he chose from that list. The Federalist Society, and we've talked about Leonard Leo at length. I used to talk about him on the radio. Now I think the world does know Leonard Leo and knows of the damage the Federalist Society, in my judgment, has done to America and continues to do to America. And now, also, additionally, the Federalist Society has received $1 billion to work with. So those donations, that from a corporate donor. So this is the way that the court is sort of, if you will, by definition, corrupt. What you're seeing in Clarence Thomas is the bubbling to the surface of payoffs of the fraud associated with taking money and taking things that are of great value in return for access to that court. So it's not enough that you've corrupted the court on the one hand. You have to gain access to those corrupt justices, and you do that by taking them on trips, going out to dinner with them. That was another, going out to dinner seems quaint, but that was another, as you'll recall, an entire narrative that involved a different justice, and praying with them is the ideological corruption. So when we talk about Clarence Thomas, this is the bald-faced fraud associated with corruption for money. The Politico documents pointed to, and it was great reporting, and this speaks to the power of investigative reporting and the importance of investigative reporting. The Publica documents pointed to the way in which Ginny Thomas, his wife, the wife of Clarence Thomas, is herself, she's an insanely corrupt person, and she may be has her own alt-right insanity. She's an election denier. She represents, views the alt-right. She's against a woman's right to choose. She's for the power grab, if you want to think of it that way, the GOP power grab. The ProPublica journalism pointed to the way in which Ginny Thomas likely receives funds, an annual salary, as she's employed by the very, shall we say, company that she runs. That company is funded by this guy Crow, who is the billionaire who takes Clarence Thomas on trips. Okay, what am I talking about? You know. And now we're hearing more and more in this piece on Clarence Thomas. And you're getting reaction. Justice Clarence Thomas, decades-long luxury travel on the dime of a single GOP mega donor will probably not shock all of us. The dollar amounts spent are astronomical, and the justice failed to report any of it. And, of course, the mega donor insists that he and Thomas are dear old friends. So, of course, the super yacht and the flights on the Bombardier Global 5000 jet and the resorts are all perfectly benign. Benign's a ding word. So while the details are shocking, the pattern here is hardly a new one. A long-standing ethics loophole, right? We know very few, if any, real ethics provisions at the Supreme Court level. They've been exploited by parties with political interests in cases before the courts to curry favor in exchange for astonishing junkets and perks, and that is allowed to happen. So it's suggested by this op-ed piece that I'm just looking at now that this will dominate the news cycle for a little while, and then it'll get washed out. I told you a long time ago that when Clarence Thomas wouldn't recuse himself from the Ginny Thomas-related case that was before the Supreme Court, It involved communications between Ginny Thomas, Mark Meadows, Ginny Thomas's participation in J6. If you won't recuse yourself from that as a Supreme Court justice, then you are corrupt. And I didn't even know about this other stuff. I mean, this guy is clearly bought and paid for in so many ways. Ideologically, and also the good old-fashioned way, dollars and cents. Here is how Clarence Thomas represents himself in a movie, a documentary, and then I'm going to talk about what he said. He did comment on it, and then I'm going to tell you, I'll give you Thomas's reaction in a moment, and then I will give you the trail to where Thomas may have learned how easy it is to compromise the Supreme Court seat. How you can get away with it, if you want to think of it that way. This is Thomas from a documentary film funded by who? The same billionaire that's taking him on all these trips. Here's what he said in the documentary. It's audio only, by the way, so if don't adjust your sets.
You know, I don't have any problem with going to Europe, but I prefer the United States. And I prefer seeing the regular parts of the United States. I prefer going across the rural areas. I prefer the RV parks. I prefer the Walmart parking lots to the beaches and things like that. There's something.
By the way, stop right there. That is just really. I prefer an RV and in a Walmart parking lot more than the beaches.
In a Walmart parking lot.
I mean, it's. I'm surprised nobody called BS. I'm surprised they left that in the movie. It's like, wouldn't you say, hey, dude, that's a little heavy. Let's back off a little bit on that. I mean, no one's going to buy that BS. But no, I mean, they bought all the other BS around Clarence Thomas, so I guess they bought that too.
And things like that. There's something normal to me about it. I come from regular stock, and I prefer that. I prefer being around that.
Yeah. There you go. He likes the regular stock. He's a regular guy. He's an RV in the Walmart parking lot kind of guy. Meantime, the report. Tony, play a little of the report again to remind everybody. And then I'm going to give you Thomas's reaction.
Wrapped up the weekend, he was in full vacation mode. He hopped on a private jet and headed off to Indonesia. Judge Thomas and his wife set off on a 9-day island hopping tour on this super yacht, which comes complete with a staff and a private chef. ProPublica did the math and calculated that had Justice Thomas paid for the trip himself, it would have cost him more than $500,000, which is nearly double a Supreme Court justice's annual salary. But lucky for Justice Thomas, he didn't have to foot the bill because this man did. This is billionaire real estate magnate and Republican mega donor Harlan Crow. He owned the jet and the yacht, and he picked up that very hefty tab. And Justice Thomas didn't tell anyone. He never disclosed it. But justices are required to publicly report all gifts worth more than $415, quote, anything of value that isn't fully reimbursed. Back in 2001, Thomas actually did disclose a gift that this Republican billionaire mega donor, Mr. Harlan Crow, had given him. It was a Bible that used to belong to Frederick Douglass and was valued at $19,000. So clearly Justice Thomas knows he is supposed to disclose this sort of thing, particularly when it comes to gifts from this guy. Because this isn't the first time Mr. Crow's generosity towards Thomas has been a scandal. Mr. Crow also gave at least $500,000 to help Justice Thomas's wife, Ginny Thomas, start a conservative lobbying group, a group that then turned around and paid Ginny Thomas a salary of $120,000.
So that's the salary off of the company, if you want to think of it that way.
Thomas's current group, which reportedly works with groups directly involved in controversial cases before the Supreme Court. Harlan Crow also gave more than $100,000 to the Yale Law Clarence Thomas Portrait Fund, which is, I don't know, quite a bit of money for a fund that maybe doesn't really need to exist. But today, ProPublica made all of that look like change. Change.
Okay, so that's you got it, and I gave you the ProPublica report. So what does Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas say? He explained his failure to disclose trips paid for by a friend, just made these statements minutes before we got on the air, that Crow and his wife, Kathy, are, quote, dearest friends, and that he and his wife have joined them on family trips for years. Quote, early in my tenure at the court, I sought guidance from my colleagues and others in the judiciary and was advised that this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends who did not have business before the court was not reportable. Continuing with Thomas's comments, I have endeavored to follow that counsel through my tenure, and I've always sought to comply with the disclosure guidelines. He said that he will comply with changes made to disclosure rules, those changes announced last month. The change to disclosure rules have tightened an exemption for personal hospitality that was not strictly defined before.
I feel like I've been hanging out with the wrong people. I mean, not once, Mark Thompson, have you taken me on your super yacht to the Indonesian islands.
Now, let me tell you something, Kim. I will, and you know how I feel about this. I think there's nothing wrong with rich people.
Am I wasting my time with you?
We all want to be rich. Yeah, we all want a private island. We all want to go on really cool trips. But there is a problem with the corruption that I was talking about. And Kim, I'd like nothing more than to vacay with your husband and yourself on my island, and I'd love to pay for your transportation. Sadly, I have no access to an island, and I have no access to money to provide you those things. But I don't really have any objection to that. I have an objection.
No Mark Thompson show super yacht?
If you were a Supreme Court justice, I would think that that would be open and outright corruption. We're going to talk more about this with Michael Shure and Jim Avila. But I will say this. The guy who really created, I think this has been going on for a long time, and I told you, I mean, I think the system itself is corrupt. But the guy who kind of created a path for Clarence Thomas he's not a trailblazer, Clarence Thomas, this way. Antonin Scalia was a guy who took these hunting trips with mega donors. You could get access to Scalia by cooking up a hunting trip. He was an avid hunter. He died in a bed at some hunting resort. It might have been his or someone else's, I forget, but it was definitely one of those hunting trips because he had all of his friends around him. You can Google it and tell me.
Google it.
And he had surrounded himself with people who had access to Antonin Scalia. It wasn't just recreating. These are people who talk about stuff. And ideology informs a lot of decisions at the Supreme Court level. Justice Antonin Scalia, the previous undisputed heavyweight champion of the personal hospitality exemption, took advantage of the judiciary's lax rules to enjoy at least 85 undisclosed hunting and fishing trips during his tenure on the court.
Nice.
Those trips were with prominent Republican donors, politicians, and those with business before the court. I mean, it really is insane. How do we know this? After he died, and he died at this Texas hunting lodge, we still don't know who was around him when he died. There were people who were on this hunting trip with him. A pair of lawyers noticed after he died that his acquaintances had taken to local news outlets to share stories of their hunting escapades with Antonin Scalia. And they unearthed evidence, those reporters, after digging deeper, following the trail of those who were speaking out about him, that Scalia was a judge who regularly sat in the lap of luxury on the dime of wealthy and influential hosts. The evidence also shows how Scalia devised a scheme, tacking private hunting trips onto public speeches. That allowed him to generally avoid detection. Antonin Scalia, this conservative justice who has sort of a respect in the historical annals of the Supreme Court, deserved or not, he was a giant fraud and wildly corrupt. But Clarence Thomas is making him look like chicken feed. So I don't think that Scalia would ever have the guts and also the short-sightedness to not recuse himself from cases involving his wife. And that's exactly what Clarence Thomas is doing. So that's the drill down on Thomas. We'll get some reaction from Avila and Shure when they come in. But not a good look. As you know, I think he should have been. You can't remove him. I know he should be impeached or removed. You can't. You need I believe, you can Google this. I thought you needed a 2/3.
Google it.
I'm almost certain you need a 2/3 majority to remove him from the. You need a 2/3 congressional majority to remove him from the high court. But we'll check it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I wanted to get into some other things, too. What's happening in Tennessee, we'll get into that with Michael Shure and Jim Avila, the removal of those two Democrats. And that could have a ripple effect in other states. We'll get to that. I did want to mention, Kim will probably mention this, but it's pretty big, that the salmon season ain't going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, years of drought have taken its toll on the Chinook salmon in California. First time in 14 years, they're canceling this year's fishing season. So that and more. The big segment coming up is Friday. Fabulous Florida. Smash the like button like a boss.
With your iron rod.
We'll be joined by former executive producer John Daly. Kim will be here. Tony, myself, and you. As I've told you, Florida has nudity. It has reptiles. And it has machetes.
That's a cavalcade of fun right there.
Yes, it's a very strong offering. All right. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show, and let us begin with, of course, the jobs report, because that was due out today, and here we go. The latest jobs report shows the labor market is cooling slightly. The United States added 236,000 jobs in March as the unemployment rate fell to 3.5%. The report was largely what economists, I can say that word, had expected, but it reflects the lowest monthly gain since December of 2020. So analysts are viewing this as another sign that the Federal Reserve's efforts to cool inflation are indeed working. As Mark was discussing, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas says he was told he didn't have to disclose a series of luxury trips reportedly paid for by a Republican donor. No, they didn't go to a Walmart parking lot. His statement follows a report from ProPublica detailing travel around the globe and outings on yachts and private jets owned by businessman Harlan Crow. The conservative justice said the trips were sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends. He was advised that they did not require disclosure. Congressional Democrats have called for an investigation into this matter. They also want stronger ethics codes for Supreme Court justices, something they probably should have done a while back.
To be fair, the private jet picked him up for these lavish vacations in the Walmart parking lot. So
is that what happened?
Yeah. So it's not a total lie, but
You, sir, are a liar.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis promising a new round of action against Disney after the entertainment giant, in the Republican governor's words, tried to pull a fast one on the way out the door. During a breakfast hosted by Michigan's Midland County Republican Party yesterday, DeSantis said, "The story is not over yet. Buckle up." He was referring to a 30-year development deal that Disney made with its board that oversaw infrastructure around Walt Disney World before DeSantis and the legislature dissolved it. So they took steps right before it was dissolved. Now DeSantis is upset about that. Lawmakers replaced the board with another board loyal to DeSantis. Now they can't undo what the previous board did.
They did get outplayed, huh?
Yeah, they did. In the game of Survivor, they were outwitted, outlasted, and outplayed.
Ah, well done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The Air Force loosening weight restrictions, allowing now for some heavier recruits. It's a move to address
there it
slumping recruit numbers. So you see not enough people are signing up. We'll take the bigger ones too. Yes. Leslie Brown with the Air Force recruiting says male recruits are now permitted to have up to 26% body fat, while females can have 36%. Puts the Air Force in line with other services. She says they have not seen any negative impacts thus far.
Wow, that's cool.
There's never been anything like this.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it's a new, bigger fighting force, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, we're going to bring it in all
right
ways.
On. Yeah, bring it bigger.
Somebody has to be on
but
the
you have to put that big gulp down if you're actually in formation, I think. Yeah.
Put down the Twinkie and the ho-ho?
Yeah, you got to put them down. But you can put them somewhere. We can come back to them. Yeah.
Just not while you're on the plane, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, Governor Gavin Newsom, of course, here is seen here. He is walking back his pledge now to cut ties with Walgreens. What? Regulations within the state's Medi-Cal coverage say California is bound to continue working with Walgreens to fulfill federally regulated prescriptions under Medicaid. Last month, Newsom said California was done doing business with Walgreens because of the company's refusal to mail abortion treatment pills in 21 states where GOP leaders are threatening legal action, even though those pills are still legal. Now, Governor Newsom's administration said it will have to comply with federal law. So there's that. As Mark mentioned, California's salmon stocks are so depleted that fisheries managers are canceling this year's and next year's salmon season, unfortunately. So that could be a big problem for fishermen. But the Pacific Fishery Management Council, based in San Francisco, recommended shutting down the state salmon season until the spring of next year. The number of salmon expected to return to the Sacramento and the Klamath Rivers is the lowest in 15 years, likely because of drought situations. The White House will host its annual Easter egg roll. That'll happen on Monday. First Lady Jill Biden continuing her theme of what she calls education for the event.
I get it, because of eggs.
Yeah, you see. They're turning the South Lawn into a school community with fun educational activities for thousands of people expected to attend. So, you know who's going to go? Halle Bailey, who is playing Ariel in The New Little Mermaid.
Oh, that's very cool.
They're going to have players from the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles, cast members from The Lion King on Broadway. It's a big to-do.
Wow, that's actually a great event.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Right.
And, okay, I'll give you a choice. You can either have men's NCAA college hockey story, or we'll talk about the new Indiana Jones movie. You get to choose.
Hockey.
Okay, the men's college hockey national championship, all set for tomorrow in Tampa. The Minnesota Golden Gophers will take on the Quinnipiac Bobcats at 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Minnesota defeated Boston University yesterday 6-2. Meanwhile, the Quinnipiac school took down Michigan 5-2 in the second game of the Frozen Four.
Oh, I love the way you say it, the Frozen Four.
The Frozen Four.
Oh, yeah. There can only be one champion, Kim.
Yeah.
Can only be one champ, just like Mark's Madness.
Daniel.
Only one's coming out as champ.
That's right.
The Quinnipiac team, and what's the other team? It's the Golden Gophers?
It is the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
No, I got the Gophers in this one. I'm going heavy on Gophers. That's right.
I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with Gophers.
I think on this one, I'm with the Gophers.
Why are you yelling?
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Of course, this show is crowdfunded. Thank you to those of you already in the Mark Thompson Show community. If you would like to support the show, you can find us at themarkthompsonshow.com. That is where the Patreon and the PayPal links are ready and waiting just for you. And of course, the super chat here on YouTube is live. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah, I love it. It is our Friday show. So cool to have everybody in the mix. Thank you for being here. And I want to welcome him right away. He joins us for Florida. He made it over the wall, from KGO. He got out.
And I got out with this.
Yes, you did.
Hey,
it's the Why Are You Yelling Red? That's one of the finest
Why are you yelling?
blends you will ever be able to get. He's John Daly.
Fabulous
everybody.
producer, John Daly.
Starting early.
Good for you, John Daly. Good for you.
Oh, and Mark, you are correct. It takes a supermajority to convict a Supreme Court justice after impeachment.
So you'd need enough pressure publicly, and there isn't, because he surrounds himself with with those rich donors, and there's a job to do, and the ideological extremists, all of who enable him. You'll never get him to resign, but you'd need him to resign, and he'll never resign from modeling that watch, everybody. He loves that watch.
You can get a Movado watch at Sam's.
Yeah, you can buy a Movado watch.
You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
You can't buy that at Sam's.
You can get that at Walmart in the parking lot.
The Clarence Thomas collection is only available to very few.
Not to go John Rothman on you, but only one Supreme Court justice has been impeached. Do you know who it was?
I don't.
Hasn't happened in over 200 years. It was Samuel Chase in 1804.
Look at you. Very,
now,
very
get this.
impressive.
He was accused of having political bias.
Oh, you don't say.
Now we celebrate
We're okay with that.
political bias.
He was not convicted, but he died like 6 years later.
No.
I would like to thank a great woman named Ginny Thomas. Do you know Ginny Thomas?
Yes, my gosh, do I
She's a
ever.
great woman.
I can never hear enough about her. She is a great woman. John, we love having you here. And look at that. You open with a fact. Let's get into some Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
In the most emailed story, to our show is this one. A Florida man pulls out a machete after a bar refuses to let him sing another karaoke song. Wow, he really, sometimes you can't stand between talent and the microphone. And that's
I used to
what was
bartend
happening.
those nights with karaoke, and I wish I had a machete.
This is in Brevard County. It's a bar there, and he wanted to sing karaoke, and he was denied that platform. Travis Jordan, 39 years old, from Cape Canaveral. The incident happened at Kennedy's Lamppost Bar on North Atlantic Avenue. After the suspect pulled out the 18-inch machete, a person at the bar encouraged him to peacefully hand it to her. Fearing for the safety of others, the bar staff also tried to intervene, but then everyone started doing what? If you guess freaking out, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say singing.
Jordan, that would have been such a good finish if they all had. That really would have been great. Oddly, the crowd was inspired. Jordan eventually handed the machete to the woman who gave it to the bar staff. And all of this is going on while they were calling local law enforcement. They did describe him as being what? If
heavily
you guessed, he is heavily tattooed. But he was also, quote, very intoxicated. Yes. So,
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
It sounds like there was a lot of alcohol involved.
But I like that they have processes and protocols and standards for dealing with such situations.
Well, here's the thing. I thought it was
processes and protocols and standards.
Jordan was carrying a concealed machete. I mean, tell me how that happens.
As one does.
Yeah.
Is that a machete in your pocket?
Now, he says he says that he was carrying the weapon because he had been threatened 2 days ago. And this is a quote. I was threatened 2 days ago, and I needed to stay alert in order to protect myself. Okay.
Maybe the path
Being
from the
drunk
bar
out of your
to his
mind,
house-
that's helping you stay alert.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Look, guy has a little alert lapse once in a while. That's all. But that was the story there. So good luck to him and his machete. And thanks to all of you who sent us that story. Florida men accused of stealing nearly $1 million worth of milk.
Oh.
A group of Florida men were arrested after Miami-Dade police said the men were involved in a dairy products theft ring. That theft ring responsible for more than $1 million worth of stolen items. 6 suspects, all employees of Island Dairy. It was an inside job.
Yeah, that's a caper.
Yeah. They were arrested as a result of an investigation. And you know what they called the investigation? You know, all these investigations have, names. Operation Deep Cover, right? They called it Operation Got Milk. Yeah. Right.
It's kind of like an Ocean's 11.
Yeah,
like
thank
training.
you.
Yeah.
Very much. An ocean of milk in this case. What happened is the men manipulated the ordering system, and they caused extra dairy products to be loaded into the distribution delivery trucks, and then the delivery drivers would go off their pre-assigned routes, meet other people, and transfer the extra dairy products to the other delivery trucks, and then that's the way it would go down. It was a whole milk caper, but they got busted. A Florida man is accused of running a crime ring to steal equipment from Home Depot and sell it online. Again, it's a caper. A statewide investigation led to the arrest of a Florida man and several others accused of selling heavy equipment that they stole from Home Depot stores throughout Florida. And it was Operation Heavy Lift.
Oh.
These are very strong titlings in Florida when it comes to their operations and investigations.
We've done a story like this before. Remember the guy going through the self-checkout?
Yeah. Ours, that guy was low rent, but you're right. John's right. We did this story, and it was in Florida. He was going through the checkout, and he was essentially smuggling like a buzzsaw with him or something. Well, I mean,
he was returning things and acting
right.
like he had purchased them.
Right, that was it.
Right.
He stole and then tried to return them. Right.
Yeah.
This is a far more sophisticated operation. They were accused of selling heavy equipment that they stole from Home Depot.
Well, you got to start with the self-checkout, right?
Right.
You got to build your skill.
Yeah, you don't want to go through the main checkout. That's This is a 2-year investigation. They started in 2021. A Florida man threatened to blow up a dam during a 6-hour standoff. This happened in Putnam County.
Okay.
Deputies got a report of a man with a bomb on the Rodman Dam. Putnam County Sheriff's officials scrambled into position. The dam's in a rural area southwest of Palatka on Lake Okawaha.
Oh, my.
When deputies arrived, they found Robert Charles Jeffers, 36 years old, standing on top of the dam.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Maybe. The sheriff's office said that Jeffers was holding an object in his hand that was connected by wires to his backpack. Jeffers said that if he let go of what was in his hand, we're all going to die, he said. Wow. Officials evacuated the dam, shut down the road that ran over it. Jeffers appeared to fall asleep at one point during this 6-hour standoff.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
It is now pointing toward more of an alcohol situation. I will give you that. He began to follow directions, stepped away from his backpack, according to deputies, and they were able to subdue him. They shot him with 40 millimeter, quote, less lethal rounds and took him into custody. So.
Yeah, I was going to go the meth route, but then you said he almost fell asleep.
Yeah, the sleep thing really makes me think.
Because I was getting meth vibes off that first.
No, definitely. I mean, it's always a good guess in Florida.
They had to bring out a SWAT team, a drone team, the bomb squad, and a robot.
Wow.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
A drone team, a SWAT team.
SWAT team.
Bomb Squad, and what was the other one?
A robot.
I don't think I get the extra points on that one, sadly.
Do you think those teams like work full time in Florida? They must, right?
Like superheroes, they just
like they're always there. Like normally you have to call them. You know, they're at home. You got to call them up. But in Florida, I'm sure they're just like
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
On patrol, right?
On standby. Yeah. Normally you'd need to put the bat beam up, but it's up all the time in Florida. Yeah, good
exactly.
point. On to a Florida woman recording an alligator body slamming and devouring a python in the Everglades.
Oh.
Wow. That is, Albert loves this kind of thing. Reptile on reptile crime. A Florida woman capturing this video of an alligator killing and eating a python in the Everglades. I'll remind you of something. I believe pythons are not even native to the Everglades. They're there because some person had a python, it got out, and now you've got a python issue, like so many other of these invasive species in Florida. But
Google it.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
There was probably alcohol involved as well.
There might be that. And a geoscientist based in Florida said that it's becoming an increasingly common sight. Sometimes pythons will eat alligators and vice versa. But the python population has been booming. And I thought we had video, but I should have warned you ahead of time, Tony.
No, don't show that video. Nope.
Okay. No, we're not going to, because we don't want the strike. No.
No, the picture's fine, but don't show that any more.
Don't show the video. Yeah. Okay. Listen, even if we could show it, which we can't because we don't want a copyright strike, I want to get onto the nudity. All right.
There's never been anything like this.
A nude Florida man. There's nothing like Florida man nudity. Steals a school bus, puts dead deer inside.
What?
What?
I'm going with alcohol so far.
Yeah, it does feel alcohol. He stole a school bus, loaded it with a dead deer to fertilize his garden, he said. Well, it's a plan. Patrolling the area, I should say, officers noticed a school bus driving through the parking lot of a supermarket with lights flashing intermittently.
A
as
supermarket?
The bus exit.
A grocery store?
Might have been, you think, a Whole Foods, John?
I'm just saying, venison.
Or a Publix, probably a Publix. But once the officers caught up to the bus, they attempted a traffic stop, but just as the bus came to a stop, authorities said it took off. After passing an exit, they're in a chase. The driver steering the bus over a berm, nearly overturning the vehicle. It was touch and go. The bus then continued on a nearby road.
Why are you yelling?
Into a wooded area. A short time later, officers encountered the driver running near a set of train tracks. As the man fled, officers said he stripped his clothing. Wow. Strong choice. Despite
do you think
his
he
efforts,
stopped at the train tracks? You know, because they have to do that by law. Do you think he...
He was on foot, John, when he was at the train tracks.
No. Darn it.
He was running on foot at that point.
Gotcha.
He's 25 years old, Tony Sanders, so he's still got his whole life ahead of him. And he admitted to taking the bus after crashing a BMW earlier that morning. Well, to be fair, he needed a new ride. And he took the bus and then placed a dead deer in the back to drive it to his house and use it as fertilizer for his garden.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol
It feels
involved.
Heavier than alcohol to me. I got to be honest.
That's not like the logical choice for loading a deer, right? You would think he'd steal a truck.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm...
Hey, whatever works.
How do you even get a deer into a school bus? You have to...
Well, I mean, you'll have to ask that Tony guy who's 26 years old. Tony Saunders, 25-year-old.
I love how he smiled for his mugshot, though.
Yeah. He does look good.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Tony, for that smile. Florida man, 73 years old, is accused of exposing his entire 73-year-old self to a woman working in his office. He is facing charges. He reportedly both exposed himself to a woman and touched and smelled her hair while she was working in the office last month. Wow.
Wait, how old is Donald Trump?
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Donald just goes for there's no alcohol involved with Trump. Maybe some of those Adderall things.
Yeah, they just let you grab it.
This guy's name is also Donald, so.
Yes, Donald Agraves, 73, arrested Sunday night on one count of exposure of sexual organs and one count of battery. Well, there you go. The woman told police that she was engaged in minimal casual conversation at her desk with the guy. He was her client, and supposedly he reportedly began touching himself. After exposing himself, he stood up behind her, leaned forward, smelled her hair, and said it smelled pretty. Jeez.
You smell party.
Yeah, it does have a pretty.
You got to watch out for that naked battery.
You know, one minute you're talking about the office copy machine. The next minute, the guy's touching himself saying, you're a real party.
We have a picture of him up on YouTube, and he's not a bad-looking man. He might have had a legit shot if he hadn't whipped it out and pleasured himself while touching her hair.
Is he getting a haircut there?
I'm just saying.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I don't think there's any chance of it working. Florida woman, it works to get you arrested. A Florida woman crashes her Rolls Royce and in so doing topples a $3 million sculpture. She's a 66-year-old Florida woman. She drives her Rolls Royce and crashes it into a backyard in Palm Beach and toppled a $3 million coral art sculpture. Then the rolls continued down. We have a picture of it now. And falls off a 5-foot-high seawall.
Wow.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Yeah, I think on this one there really might be.
She went pretty far. Like
she
past
did.
The house, through the backyard.
Yeah.
Onto the beach.
It was on Canterbury Lane. You Floridians know it as an affluent area there. And she was in her rolls, top down. It's a convertible. And these cars, as you know, can go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The car drove into a home, travels through the backyard, and knocks down the statue, and then it continues off the edge there and crashes on the beach. Yeah.
And the stairs were right there. Look.
Yeah.
No, she could have just walked down to the beach, but she wanted to drive down. By the way, just because it is a lingering question, and we like to give you all the details, authorities say alcohol was not involved. Wow. And finally, a Florida man with meth in his underwear, which is a strong choice.
Yeah.
I was waiting for this.
Took the deputies who ultimately apprehended him on a long chase. He was driving a stolen car. When they got him, they found meth in his underwear. I mean, to be fair, you don't want to keep it right out there on the seat. Jorel Delarian Stallworth, 27, booked into the county jail, charged with 2 counts of obstruction of justice, grand theft of a motor vehicle, escaped prisoner, and possession of a controlled substance with prescription.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Obstruction of justice, grand theft of motor vehicle, escaped prisoner, possession of controlled substance with prescription.
He was very productive. The meth helps with that, right?
Yeah, he really did get a lot done in a short time.
He has a busy week.
That might be the takeaway for the...
Yeah, the busy week.
Yeah, for all of us, yeah.
I have a busy week.
Well, it's true. I have to put the meth in my underwear. Then I have to take the cops on a joyride. I have to jack a car and then obstruct justice. My friends, that is our complete roundup on Florida, but we're not done because painful though it may be, because they are all so strong, we must choose a favorite. You can choose a favorite in the chat right now, and even if you're watching in replay, maybe especially if you're watching in replay, please leave in the comments section your favorite. But right now, I'll just review for you what you've heard so you can choose from this pool of candidates. The Florida dude who wanted to sing another song at the karaoke bar, they felt he was too intoxicated, so he pulled out a machete.
That's strong.
The Florida man accused, and it was more than one man, 6 of them actually, accused of stealing nearly $1 million worth of milk in a big milk scam. The Florida man accused of running a crime ring to steal equipment from Home Depot and then sell it online. Operation Heavy Lift. The Florida man threatening to blow up a dam. It was a 6-hour standoff, according to deputies. A Florida man recording, actually, it was a woman who recorded this, alligator body slamming and devouring a python in the Everglades. It was a brutal scene. And there's more and more of this.
What can you tell us about the scene?
It was a brutal one, Larry.
What can you tell us about the scene?
It was a python and an alligator, Larry.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Thank you. A nude Florida man stealing a school bus and putting a dead deer inside takes the cops on a chase, ultimately says that the deer is to fertilize his garden. His name is Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Florida man 73 accused of exposing himself to a woman working in her office. And a Florida woman, 66 years old, crashes her Rolls Royce into a house over a yard, toppling a $3 million sculpture and then ultimately dumping it there on the beach. And finally, a Florida man with meth in his underwear leads the deputies on a chase. Ultimately is hauled in. We don't want to do it, but we have to do it. I'll ask you, what's your favorite fabulous producer John Daly?
Fabulous producer John Daly.
I do love a good machete story, but I have to go with Deer in the Bus.
Deer in the Bus is very strong.
Yeah,
I agree.
Very unique.
Kim, what do you think?
Kim, how are you?
Often will go for the reptiles, but I just can't get over the Deer in the Bus. Deer in the Bus. Yeah.
Deer in the Bus is really strong.
Yeah.
Tony, I ask you, I mean, in a way you should recuse yourself because one of these people is named Tony.
Thanks, Tony. Well, I'm with John on this one completely. Like, I would totally be going with machete karaoke, but there's so many layers to Deer Bus.
Yeah.
It just
like there's a movie there.
Yeah, it's just like, actually, you know, BMW to killing a deer, I guess. I'll put the deer in the bus.
It's pretty grim.
And now I'm
fever
naked.
dream,
Just,
right?
Yes.
It's grim and white. It is
so
fever
many
dream.
layers.
It's very Florida. Yes.
Well, I will be the only one who'll part with it. It's simple. It's delicious. It's guy with the machete in a karaoke bar. That's what pushes it over for me. Had it not been karaoke, I might not. But I go for that. Leave your favorite in the comments section. That is Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Yeah, good stuff. John, we love seeing you. I hope you'll be back next Friday. I think it's.
I want to note that I had Seriously What the F going all the way.
Oh,
So
right.
I was so close.
Seriously, What the F was a Cinderella story in March Madness. It was the 21st seed, and it made it all the way to the Final Four and actually made it to the semis. It was...
And it came from this segment.
Oh, is that right?
It was a Florida story, and it was bizarre because the reporter was interviewing someone. He was talking about something. And then all of a sudden, this guy just comes up to the mic and says, Seriously, what the F?
Seriously, what the
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was a San Francisco story. It was a
No,
Florida
it was
story?
Florida.
That's
Because
great.
I would always try to pull like the craziest television coverage from Florida.
Oh, that's
Especially
really cool.
Fox 35. Remember Fox 35 and the Fox 35 Thunder Truck?
Yes, that was great.
Yeah.
With super swishes and super swoops and all that stuff.
And I may have boosted the swooshes.
You'd always boost the swoosh.
Fabulous producer, John Daly.
You're a swoosh booster, if nothing else. Hey, now, John, please visit us again next Friday. We love your visits. And please come with more Supreme Court news, too. That was very strong. Yeah, enjoy your Mark Thompson, Why Are You Yelling Red? John Daly, everybody. Very good.
Why are you yelling?
All right. I need to...
The Mark Thompson Show.
I need to do something here, Kim. I need to go to Michael Shure.
Oh, yeah.
If you're okay.
By all means. I would
have
rather listen to Michael. I could listen to Michael Shure all day long.
He is pretty great.
Guy's amazing.
He is pretty great.
And also quite handsome.
Oh, who knew?
I'm just saying.
I was
What?
Okay.
Get them up on the screen fast.
A little bit awkward, but all right.
Well, I mean,
yeah. I never picked up on that energy before, but apparently it's real. Okay.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy comes in on Fridays. Oftentimes the Jim Avila. I don't know if Jim's joining us or not, but apparently hasn't thus far. So let's just welcome the guy who has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. He is Michael Shure, everybody. Michael Shure is challenged by the number of things that are really on the agenda today. I've got an awful lot. I sort of did a drill down on Clarence Thomas, Michael Shure, but I wonder if you could speak to it and just give me your perspective. We're really caught with the Supreme Court justices. You can't remove them without 2/3 of a congressional. You're not going to get the kind of votes you'd need in Congress to even come close. So you're kind of caught with this guy, and even though he's openly corrupt, in my judgment, and this is great journalism, I was saying, on the part of ProPublica, there's not much you can do.
Well, there isn't much you can do. I mean, the Chief Justice can arguably intervene in some way and sort of lighten the justice's caseload, as it were, to sort of minimize his role on the court. I don't know that's going to happen. I don't know that there's precedent for that. But, you know, what this does is it shines a light on what is going to be a part of every single confirmation hearing for Supreme Court justices forward. It may not change Clarence Thomas. He's an older justice anyway. I don't know that he's going to remain for how long he's going to remain on the court. But this is certainly something that by ProPublica doing this reporting, and I agree, it was just exceptional reporting by those three reporters. It shows you that there are problems that are not just the kinds of problems we see on Capitol Hill. They happen across the street too. And I think that's important to note. And I don't know that there's anything we've ever seen. Justice Brennan apparently took an honorarium once. I don't know all of the details of that, but this is beyond the pale. And I think that it's people are really discomfited by it, and not just Republicans and people who support, I mean, the Democrats and people who don't support the people that look at this. And I think Hurricane Avila has just made landfall.
Yeah, it sounded a lot of background noise, but it's good to have him on board. But I think you make a good point, and I'll tell you, when I think of it in the context of today's politics, it becomes an even bigger point, which is politics has become supersized in America, and I think there's sort of fewer and fewer consequences to some of these extreme positions. The loudest voices in the GOP clearly are ruling the agenda. Politically, not smart to ride with abortion. We can talk about that. I mean, but they're going to ride with abortion right over the cliff the same way that they're riding with Trump right over the cliff, whether they want to or not. But similarly, what they want to get done in the Supreme Court, they're not so concerned about the repercussions. In fact, in the notes on the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision, they even spoke of the fact that while there may be public outcry, we have to just do, we just have to do what we have to do. That's not a quote, but I mean, that was essentially their message. So increasingly, I think they don't care about that. They respond to the loudest voices. Jim, please.
Well, I think, first of all, my first comment is that this is on John Roberts, and I don't know what he's doing. He claims he's concerned about the integrity of the court and its reputation, and yet he does nothing. Here's Clarence Thomas taking all this money, traveling all over the world with a corrupt wife who is trying to influence American policy. And he doesn't recuse himself, as you pointed out, Mark, even on a case that directly involved her, and on the January 6th stuff. So, if John Roberts doesn't take hold of this, under the current, maybe Michael knows better, but I think under the current ethics situation at the Supreme Court, only the Supreme Court can really do anything about this, and they're not. The other venue, of course, is Congress and impeachment, but that's nearly impossible with what's required. So it's up to John Roberts, and his legacy is going to be that he led a corrupt court.
This terribly flawed system has sort of crested with this wave of open corruption I was suggesting when we started the show. Let me ask you about what's happening now in Tennessee. I mean, just as we have to move through a bunch. In Tennessee, the GOP, with a supermajority there, just got rid of 2 of the 3 Democrats that were part of this protest on the floor of the chamber there regarding weapons of war, regarding these assault weapons, as we'll call them, that were used in the Tennessee shooting. I wonder if you could speak to what's happening there, because again, I think there you see a kind of supersized politics that you can tell me if we've seen it before or not. It feels as though this is new ground.
It's old ground. It's old ground, actually. It's the fact that the United States South is post-racial is showing itself to not be entirely true. This is about race. This is about breaking, and you heard them talk about the decorum, that this was about decorum. There is a way of dealing with broken decorum on the floor of the Tennessee House. There are censures. There are ways of saying that this is a conduct unbecoming. That's official in the Tennessee law. This extreme shows you that this is not what they're after there. They're after what they believe decorum means, and decorum in the South means just as it always was. It's why they fight for a Confederate flag. It's why they don't want any kind of disruption in their daily doings there. They have a supermajority of Republicans in Tennessee. It is as red a state as you can possibly imagine. With they've even gerrymandered to the point where a gun-toting member of Congress, an AR-15 supporting guy, Andy Ogles, took over a Nashville district that was Jim Cooper's district, who was a sort of a centrist Democrat for many years. Steve Cohen in Memphis is the only member of the Tennessee delegation that's a Democrat. So it's clear what the motive is here. It is about race. You saw 2 black members expelled from Congress, from the legislature. They are going to win their races. They're going to go back, win their races, and be reseated. And you saw the white woman who was allowed to stay there. And she even said it. What do you think the difference is? There on the right is Justin J. Pearson. I know Justin. I was actually texting with him yesterday. I covered him on a story in Memphis before he was in the legislature, where he was a community activist trying to stop a pipeline from going through Memphis and using eminent domain. He was successful. This is somebody who is trying to disrupt, but he's trying to, as John Lewis said, make good trouble. And the trouble he is making here is to fight for people's lives and children's lives. So you're seeing this. I don't think it's new, Mark, sadly. I think it's actually very, very old.
They had Klansmen serving in Tennessee in that same house, right? I mean, they didn't throw them out. I mean, they were all singing from the same hymnal at the time, the same racist hymnal.
Oh, they're sharing a hymnal. I'm not saying these are Klansmen there now, but they're sharing a hymnal again. You see 75 of them voted, or 72 of them voted to oust Justin Jones, and 69 voted to oust Justin Pearson. It's just it's the old South, and that's just the South.
Yeah, Jim.
Well, when you say it, is this new? This is a trend that stems from gerrymandering. This is what you get when you when courts allow the Republicans to gerrymander in such a way that, on a state level and now even in Congress, there is no accountability for this kind of craziness. What we saw in Tennessee, when you use the word decorum, that's a code word for stay in your place. Don't cause trouble here. We've allowed you in the state assembly, but keep your place. The decorum, and that's racism. And certainly it's what's happening in Tennessee. Where there's a danger of that happening all over the country. In Georgia, of course, they passed that law which allowed the state house to overrule local district attorneys, because a local district attorney is going after President Trump for his illegalities. So I think that's just one sign of what's happening. In Idaho, they're doing some crazy stuff too. But Idaho has always been kind of way over to the right, and that's not, to me, that's not as dangerous. I think what's dangerous is what's happening in Tennessee and what's happening in Georgia, and that's a product of gerrymandering. And until we get that under control, it's going to be very difficult to fix anything.
And fixing gerrymandering is difficult too. I want to add to what Jim's saying. It's true. It is a lot about gerrymandering. But what you're also seeing is it's kind of a gift in a way. All of these old rules and regulations, all these old ways of being that the Republicans are trotting out, from abortion to what's happening at the Tennessee State House, it's backfiring. Abortion has been a disaster. The Dobbs decision has been a Republican disaster, laid bare in Wisconsin this week, laid bare in the elections, in the midterm elections. The fact that they're still talking about it now it boggles the mind. Of course, I agree with Jim that Idaho is what Idaho is, and there's not a lot of national attention on such a place right now. And what they do is not going to be sort of a bellwether for the country, because they are kind of an outlier. But I mean, this stuff, I'm going to read you one thing that Justin Pearson said to me yesterday. He said, "Wow, there's something holy happening even amidst the sadness." This is one of the expelled members. Something holy happening, that it's sad, but we know we're going to go back to our districts. We're going to win these races, that we're going to raise so much money and bring so much attention to these old ways. Yet the Republicans just keep trotting them out. And that is because of exactly what Jim said, which is gerrymandering. They only have to appeal to those small groups that they already appeal to. And there's not sort of any common ground that's necessary.
I'm thinking of that Star Wars scene in the original movie where, Obi-Wan says, "If you strike me down, I'll become even more powerful than you could ever imagine." And I really think of it because these people, the very people who you were texting with and who you've covered so many times, Michael, and that we're talking about here, Jim, those people would probably toil in relative obscurity, only be able to make some sort of incremental changes in the agenda of Tennessee. And now they are national figures. And as you've just said, Michael, their plight, and as he was indicating, their plight and these issues all of a sudden are vaulted to a profile that they would never have been prior. So in trying to knock them down, and indeed knocking them down, although as you say they'll be reelected, you've given attention to them and the causes that would never have existed prior.
It's so true. When Julian Bond, the late Julian Bond was a Georgia state senator, he won his election to the legislature before he was a state senator, and he wasn't, because he took a position against the Vietnam War. They refused to seat him there. He was an African American in Georgia. We're going back to the late 60s, early 70s. Yeah. And when the district court upheld what the legislature said, that they couldn't be seated, and he went to the Supreme Court and he won 9-0. And he 9-0 at the Supreme Court, and he was, of course, seated in the legislature. But it brought so much attention, both to him, to make him a national figure. He was from the civil rights movement as well, but this in a different way. And it also brought so much sympathy to the anti-war movement at that time. So they really, I don't know that you cut off your nose to spite your face, or it's that kind of a thing. Like they keep doing it and it doesn't work, and then they make some progress, and then it just gets totally thrown out of the water.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a broken record, but it is true that the Republicans step on themselves every time. On abortion, of course, on student loans, that's going to motivate kids again. Even on transgender issues, those type of things. Most people, not that Republican base, that Trump base, but other than that, and independents, which is most important, want to give freedom to people to live their lives the way they want to live it, love who they want to love, do all the. Why are we getting involved in these things? And I think the Democrats should do, to do their best to avoid that issue. Just, we support people to love who they love, be who they want to be, but I'm not so sure that yesterday's move by the Biden administration to codify some rules about who can compete in high school sports or college sports, whether you're transgender or not. Is that really an issue Democrats want to focus on? I don't think so. I think
Jim,
most people want to let that go.
Yeah, but Jim, I don't think they're focusing on it. I think they're immunizing themselves from the attacks that would certainly come and making it a campaign. Every once in a while you have to cede to the fact that this is someone who wants to be running for president and is going to say things to immunize himself from the attacks and the associations, that to be able to reply and say, look, my administration did this. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would you accuse me of that?
Well, I think that's accurate. I think that's accurate that they are trying to immunize themselves from further attacks on this issue. But maybe the best way to immunize yourself is to let things happen on their own in an organic fashion and not codify them into laws myself.
Well, I mean,
that's my thought.
What I'm hearing Jim say, and I think it's a defensible position, Michael, is that, when you're playing toward the center, you want to stay off of some of these issues that can be used to suggest that you're a lefty, that you're not center.
Let's talk about jobs. I mean, let's not talk about that as much. Not focus on that. I mean, that's a great job report today.
I don't disagree, obviously, and idealistically, I certainly don't disagree. But I do think that when you're going to be attacked for ridiculous reasons on wokeism, which no one can define, if you're able to neutralize that in any way that you can, and then move on to jobs and things that are more important and say, stop with this. We're not worried about that. We're worried about this, which is in essence what I think they're doing by doing that. And look, I think there are a lot of people that are sort of made uncomfortable by the position the administration took and the fact that they brought it up in the first place. But there is real strategy to it that supersedes the actual politics of it.
Yeah, and if you want to get into that issue at all, I'm not the person. I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is on transgenders in sports. It's a conflict for me. I don't really know what the answer is on minors getting hormones and surgery before they're 18. Those are real questions that we each have to deal with. But to make it the demagoguery that the Republican Party does is really insensitive, and really doesn't play well, I don't think, among most thinking people.
This is interesting, though, because you can even hear in Jim's comments, and where Jim is politically, sort of, left of center, calls himself a progressive. He's struggling with these very things. So, again, as you sort of suggested, Michael, do it and move on. But it's a political thicket of sorts, because you even have those who identify as libs going, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they should compete at 13, 12. When should they be able to take these therapies? People feel a little outmatched by the issue.
Yeah, and when that happens, it's always unnerving on either side, whatever the issue is. And I think that's what people are struggling with now. I think that dispatching it and saying this is the position, boom, we're going on to jobs and student debt, we're going on to Ukraine and healthcare, all of the things that matter to us. I think that is that's probably a decent. And certainly, it's a good choice of strategy. There are other choices to make, but this one seems like you understand why someone would be arguing for it in the room.
They passed a law, and it was just signed in Idaho. And Jim, I think you referenced it a moment ago, and it's draconian. I mean, it's really wild when it comes to abortion, and the idea somehow that if you give if you give someone, what is the age, 18 or under?
18, minor 18.
Yeah, it's a ride to, if you aid in any way the minor's abortion without the parental knowledge, you can be put in jail, I think 2 to 5 years. And
I'm sure it's happening because, Idaho, right next to Washington and Oregon.
Exactly.
Abortion rights are taken care of. So
that's why Jay Inslee from Washington is weighing in on these things. Yeah. So yes, I wonder what your thoughts are on this, mostly because I wonder if this isn't. I know you said before, it's kind of Idaho's sort of a special case, but I wonder if what's happening there, I mean, it's being talked about in other states, might happen in other states.
Yeah, the Republicans are doing everything they can to kill themselves. And yes, in places where they control heavily, they're trying. I mean, Michigan, they just got rebuked again by a judge. And I think, I think it's going to be a battle all over. And in some states like Idaho, they're going to go to the very extreme, and that's a problem. But
it's super extreme. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Idaho, even before Trump, was like that. It's like Wyoming.
Sure.
I have relatives who live in Idaho that I barely speak to anymore because of this gun issue. It's way to the right. Way to the right.
And there's a constitutional right, and one thing we should tell people is that what they're trying to do is say, without consent of the parents, you cannot leave the state to get abortion services outside of the state. There's a constitutional right, though, that we all have to go to whatever state we'd like to go. We can travel freely, and what Idaho is doing is saying they want to make illegal the Idaho portion of the trip. So if you're going from, Boise to Oregon, from Boise to the state line, that's what's illegal is going that far within the state without consent, even though your intent doesn't have to be shared until you cross that border. It's going to be very difficult to enforce. It could be one of these things that's about the narrative and about the what it stands for is more important than the actual enforcement of such a right.
So imagine these young girls, now they know they can't tell anyone. They need help. They can't say a word, and they have to leave under cover of night alone to go to get a procedure where they'll need someone to drive them home. They'll need some assistance, maybe some emotional support. And now they can't tell a soul because you risk your parent or your, friend or whomever you tell being thrown in jail for 5 years.
Yeah, it's a silly law. It's outrageous. It won't stand up. As soon as some woman or young girl and her parents go to Oregon and they're arrested at the border, who's going to do that? First of all, who's going to do that? It's going to be challenged in court.
And they'll build a wall around Idaho.
Yeah, it's going to. It's going to go to court. It'll be overthrown, even in this court.
In our last couple of minutes. It's literally our last couple of minutes. I wonder, they just issued a report on Afghanistan and our withdrawal from Afghanistan, and I thought it was elucidative in a couple of ways, and we talked about it at the time, the way that the Trump administration had left the Biden administration fewer options on the way to get out of Afghanistan, while conceding still that, and this is conceded in the report, that I've only read a summary of the report, so I haven't actually read the report. But the report indicates, hey, this was a rushed withdrawal, and that was a mistake. It was a bit chaotic, but some of that rush and some of that chaos was informed by the situation we were left with, or that the Biden administration was left with by Trump. Degradation of the forces there, a drawing down of the forces, and also a timeline. And then they point to the politics of Afghanistan not helping them either. I wonder if you guys could just speak to that, because at the time we talked about it, but it was lost a bit in all of the mess, frankly, that was going on with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Michael?
Yeah, look, this is exactly the way these things are supposed to happen. They're not supposed to be reacted to in the moment. We're humans. We react to things in the moment, but we certainly don't make verdicts on them and understand what we can learn going forward and what went wrong previously. But these are the sorts of things, rather than wokeism, that if I were a Republican running, I would be pointing to and looking at in greater detail. I think that when you look at an operation such as the one that the administration and the Defense Department did, you can find flaws and you can find things that worked out. It's never as bad as it looked on the first day. It's never as good if it was wildly successful. But the point is that the Biden administration and whoever campaigns for president next is going to be talking about the fact that we are out of Afghanistan. The other side is going to be talking about how we got out. And it does become political. It doesn't become just about the dotted I's and crossed T's in a report like this.
Jim, can you give me just a quick second? Thank you.
Yeah, as Michael says, there's two defenses on this. The Biden administration says, wait, this was a Trump idea. We carried it out. He left it for us. And B, just in the overall thing, and I've said this in the beginning, Afghanistan is a mess. That country, I spent a lot of time there during the war and after the war and the rebuilding. It is a corrupt place. It is a place without laws. And we needed to get out of there. And it was going to be messy no matter what happened. A lot of the blame belongs, I believe, with the Afghanis themselves. That they were corrupt. Their administrations were stealing money out of the mint like crazy. They stole a lot of the money that the United States put in there. I think most voters are like, thank you, Joe Biden. We're sorry that some people got hurt, but it's a messy situation and we had to get out.
Guys, thank you for rallying on Fridays always. Appreciate your thoughts. We went through a lot, and we did it in a short time, but I thought some really good points made, so I appreciate it.
Is there a Mark's Madness result for the celebrity bracket, Mark?
It is being updated. It's funny you should ask. There is a Mark's Madness result celebrity bracket announcement, but it is not coming until Monday because the commissioner of Mark's Madness is Albert.
Now, I can't believe it! Mark's Madness!
It's not, Albert is not here today. He did make the announcement as to the winner, but the celebrity bracket has remained under seal, as is the tradition.
Can you imagine if the registrar of voters took the day after Election Day off?
It is
I think
odd,
they did in LA. Didn't they do that in LA?
You're right. They took 3 days off in Los Angeles. Jim's right. So you'll get your results on Monday, and good luck, Michael Shure. I mean, the guy who's coming in right now in a moment, the culture blaster, the movie reviewer, Michael Snyder, he was the odds-on favorite, given his record of halfway through the tournament. He's good.
He's good.
Yeah. So love you guys. Thank you so much. Talk to you next Friday. All right. Right on. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people. My bad. I'm sorry.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
What he's got going here is a situation. There's a reason that this place is fun.
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
I have never heard of something like that.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen.
We've never seen anything like it before.
I have a busy week.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
God bless America. The end.
Girl, you just rude.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
The science is ridiculous.
It's fantastic.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Isn't anybody been a weed?
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Seriously, what the
Seriously, what the F was bumped in a wild upset. But if you missed it, all the Mark's Madness results are at the beginning of the first hour. Smash the like button like a boss.
With your iron
Kim's
rod.
news, and then the great culture blaster. Kim, do you have anything before your newscast that you have comments, questions?
I don't know what my favorite segment is on the Mark Thompson Show. I really like the Friday Fabulous Florida. I adore David Katz, But that whole Michael Shure, Jim Avila, it's like you bring the big guns, and those guys are awesome.
They are pretty awesome. Smash the like button for them.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
And we are crowdfunded. So if you like Avila and Shore,
Yeah.
I have to take them to a sumptuous lunch on a regular basis, usually monthly, just
They
to
don't
kind
go
of make
cheap,
it up.
those guys.
Yeah, they like the top drawer. And I
Yeah.
can't go, well, guys. So
Is it
I
the
will
top drawer
tell
or
you,
the top shelf? The top shelf.
they like both. They like the top drawer that's on the top shelf. Oddly.
Oh, is that
it's,
it? Okay.
Yeah. It's very
What?
cool. Anyway, the deal is when we come back after Kim's news, the great culture blaster Michael Snyder, who I think, and it hasn't been announced, and it'll be announced Monday, won the celebrity bracket of Mark's Madness. So we'll touch base with him, and I want to recognize many of you, or at least some of you, in my effort to recognize those who have supported the show through the crowdfunding effort on PayPal. We talk about Patreon. Patreon is a great way to both make a contribution. PayPal, you can make a contribution and send a message just like you can on Patreon. So I want to recognize some of those PayPal contributors. Either way, you can contribute to the show, and we mention this from time to time because we are crowdfunded, so we have to ask for your support. TheMarkThompsonShow.com. Click the Patreon or PayPal link to join our community and contribute. But I will recognize some PayPal contributors, and there have been some great ones. I mean, people have really stepped up. I'll do that after Kim's news. All right. Smash the like button.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Kim's news next, and then the Culture Blaster.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's start with the Wall Street Journal reporter now being charged with espionage in Russia. Evan Gershkovich, detained at the end of last month for what Russia said was collecting state secrets about the military-industrial complex. He is denying those charges. As has been mentioned here on the Mark Thompson Show, Justice Clarence Thomas of the United States Supreme Court says he was told he didn't have to disclose a series of luxury trips reportedly paid for by a Republican donor. His statement followed a report from ProPublica detailing travel around the globe and outings on yachts and private jets owned by businessman Harlan Crow. Congressional Democrats have called for an investigation into this matter now. They also are thinking maybe it's time for some stronger ethics codes for Supreme Court justices. This is, again, mentioned on the Mark Thompson Show, and wild when you think about what happened here. 2 black Democratic lawmakers have been expelled from the Tennessee State House of Representatives for protesting because they want stricter gun laws. You know who wasn't removed? The third person who protested with them, who was a white woman. And even she says, well, look at the color of their skin. Why do you think they got removed and I didn't? A Republican-controlled House removed Justin Jones and Justin Pearson on claims they violated House rules. Democratic Representative Gloria Johnson, who is white, survived after the vote to expel her failed to receive the required 2/3 majority. Police here in Northern California ended up piecing together a hostage situation that happened in the Roseville area, and it ended in the worst way. They believe the suspect shot 2 bystanders yesterday in Roseville, killing one of them. A CHP officer was also shot and has since been released from the hospital. This all started when officers went out to serve a warrant. They say a man opened fire on them and ran off, grabbing the 2 hostages before eventually surrendering. A nearby park went into lockdown, sending 33 kids from a day camp to an elementary school to be picked up. It was scary for them. A former Camarillo resident, here it is facing federal charges now on suspicion of making death and bomb threats to a Ventura County-based nonprofit. The 34-year-old man, who now lives in Bakersfield, is also accused of making similar threats to reproductive health centers in Santa Barbara and Los Angeles. The U.S. Attorney's Office says the man did it while living in Camarillo in the winter and spring of 2022. He is accused of using an internet app to make anonymous phone numbers, which he then allegedly used to make a series of threatening phone calls. The man's trial starts in late May. He is facing up to 5 years in federal prison if convicted. 5 years in federal prison. for making bomb threats to Planned Parenthood.
Wow. And yeah, I just, the Planned Parenthood thing, it's been defunded in so many states. What's happening to reproductive rights is just part of the problem. I mean, reproductive education is being gutted as well in this country. It's crazy. We are just going medieval. It's so sad.
5 years? That's it?
Right. I mean, you know, that's
call in bomb threats to Planned Parenthood, disrupt the lives of women and medical workers, and scare the crap out of people in 5 years.
right. It has a chilling effect on those workers there. At some point, they go, you know what? I just can't take it. There's so much drama and so much a threat, and I don't know when a bomb threat is actually real. I don't know when somebody's going to come in and shoot the place up. It takes a kind of dedication to Planned Parenthood and as I say, reproductive education that is it just has to, essentially, against this push, it has to be even stronger.
Speaking of medical jobs and the commitment to working in medicine, apparently medical jobs take the majority of the 10 careers with the best salaries for 2023. The Hill listed specialist physicians at the top of their list based on data collected from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and other sources. Also on the list, psychiatrists, family and general practitioners, oral surgeons, orthodontists, nurse anesthetists, all with an average salary of more than $200,000 a year. So if you're thinking maybe a spring ski, summer ski, another California ski resort extending its season for the second time this year. Sugar Bowl in Placer County says its snowpack at the mid-mountain is still 20 feet deep. And that, they say, will allow several ski runs to stay open. They're doing an encore weekend, April 29th and 30th, with lifts running most of the day. The resort's new tubing and snow play park will also stay open on the weekends. So, kind of exciting.
What a season.
This is kind of a bummer. It's not surprising, probably, to most of you, that many Californians are not living the dream of owning their own home. There's a new study that puts the number at only 7 million in a state with 40 million people. It makes the lowest rate of home ownership in the nation at 18%. California only behind Hawaii and New York in that. And the reasons, they say, a high cost of living, lack of inventory, and soaring interest rates. Maine has the highest rate of home ownership at 32%. And lastly, because we're going into the movie segment, I will say, here's the Super Mario movie. This is probably what I'm going to go see this weekend. The Super Mario Brothers movie continues to roll at the box office. The animated video game adaptation made more than $26 million yesterday, bringing its current total to more than $58 million made. It is expected to pull in $140 million in total over the course of the weekend from North American box offices.
Those cute
just
little
North America
characters. That's just North America. Wow.
This report is
Koji Kondo is one of my favorite musicians. I'll tell you right now.
Is he?
So Koji Kondo, yeah.
It's a good song. Can't beat it. This show is crowdfunded. Thank you to those of you already in the Mark Thompson Show community chatting up a storm. We love to see it. Love that you're here. If you would like to support the show financially, you can find us at themarkthompsonshow.com, where you'll find the Patreon, the PayPal link as well. And of course, the Super Chat is live on YouTube. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Don't make us beg. Subscribe, like, and share. The Mark Thompson Show.
I love my shadow. I love my shadow. I am without a peer when it comes to my love for Shadow Stevens. I will tell you that the Culture Blaster is in the wings, but I want to recognize many of you who have stepped up and are new PayPal contributors. And here is one. Sandra V for $100. Are you kidding me?
Big shout out.
Big Dan Ashley shout out.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I might cry for $100.
That's so nice. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Is it Sandra V or Sandra Y? I can't see with my
Y. It's Y.
Y.
Sandra
Sandra
Y.
Y. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Sandra. Sandra Y. Why can't I see? Because I've got these glasses that don't quite work for me. Sandra Y, 100. Thank you so very much. On our PayPal contribution, Gene L for $50. Wow!
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
On PayPal, you get that link. You can click right through, leave any amount you want, but these are a couple of new ones that are really the new PayPal contributor, Laureen. $50. Really enjoy your show.
Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Laureen.
Yeah, thank you
So
for being
very
here.
cool.
Yep.
New PayPal contributor, Patrick, go for $100.
Big
Patrick,
shout out.
Patrick.
I'm not going to cry, but Patrick, you make me close to crying.
I'm not gonna cry.
I love it. And
Thank you,
Patrick, go. A new PayPal contributor, Miles C for $100. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miles. I appreciate it so very much on behalf of everyone here at the Mark Thompson Show. Very
Thank
impressive.
you so much.
Thank you so much. New PayPal contributor, Donna, for $35. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah.
Donna.
Thank you, Donna. You're such a cool person to click through and make the contribution, as did Lori for $50.
Big shout out.
Thank you.
Lori.
Big shout out to Lori. Big Dan Ashley
Big
shout
shout
out. $50
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
does get me cleanly into cry territory, as I am with Calvin.
Calvin.
The shadow producer, Calvin Wong, everybody. Come on.
We should be paying that guy. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
you're not kidding. I'm going to give you the
Thank you
for your $100 contribution on PayPal. New PayPal contribution from Susan L. She says, I love the Mark Thompson Show. It's $200?
Oh,
Are you kidding me?
Big shout out.
Susan.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Nice.
That is extraordinary. And she says, I love the Mark Thompson Show crew.
Yeah, that's nice.
Wow.
Thank you.
Guys, let's not make it about the crew, okay? Let's keep it on me, if we could, in the future. New PayPal contributor, David K. for $100. Wow.
Nice.
PayPal is a
Big shout out.
big shout out. Thanks for being there.
I'm not gonna cry.
These are all insanely great contributions. If you want to support us, you can keep us alive, frankly, like so many who contribute on PayPal and on Patreon. We have to ask you because we're completely crowdfunded. Go to the MarkThompsonShow.com. You'll click the Patreon link or the PayPal link. It'll take you right through, and it's as easy as joining that crew. You don't have to come in for a lot. You can come in for whatever you can, and if you can't afford to come in at all, that's fine too. We love you nonetheless.
We're getting
Now-
to the Michael Snyder time, but we do have a lot of also YouTube people to thank as well. Do you want to do
All
that
right,
at
so
the
I
end?
am going to, before I thank the YouTube people,
Okay.
I want to tell our stations that we are going to run over. I'm not going to cut Michael Snyder's report shut. I'm not going to cut Michael short, is the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
hear
going to
you.
cut it short, so we will run a little bit over our noon deadline because I want Michael's report to be heard. He works really hard on it. He's going to review
Sure.
a bunch of things. And I also want to recognize those people who have made contributions. So how do you want to do that, Tony? Should we do that now or should we do it after Michael's report? How do you want to do it?
Thanks, Tony.
We've been doing another. It's up to you. Let's do Michael now, and then we'll
I was
then
going
we
to
get all
say,
the
yeah, I
supers
feel
out
like
of the show.
Michael. I feel like we should bring Michael on, and then I'm
Yeah.
going to thank people afterward because
And then I have the Mark's Madness thing you sent me. I have that as ready as well.
Mark's Madness. We're going to run
Yeah.
down the
Yeah.
top leaderboard at the end of Michael's report as
Yeah,
well.
let's do Michael now.
This guy is on top of movies, television, streaming, music. What's in the clubs in the Bay Area? What's in the festivals in the Bay Area and Los Angeles? He's amazing. And his range, he comes and goes. Michael Snyder, everybody. And Michael, hold on a second. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. No, wait, Michael.
What? Come on.
Now you can say something. Okay, go ahead.
Seriously.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
You are a technical marvel, Mark. I
Yeah,
have to
there
tell
you
you.
go. All right.
You know,
Welcome.
it's a holiday bonanza. I mean, not only are we right in the middle of the Jewish celebration of Passover,
Oh, of course.
and all the details are in the Ten Commandments movie if you don't know what it's about, and the Muslim spiritual festival Ramadan.
Sure.
We're kicking off Easter weekend with what I hope is a good Friday for everybody, especially our little crew, Mark, Tony, the commish and the
Oh,
lovely
that's
and
nice.
talented Kim.
Yeah.
Mark,
Kim, how
I
are
know,
you?
Yeah.
I know Easter is first and foremost a religious observance, and a lot of people complain about the commercialization with all the Easter eggs and chocolate bunnies.
I wasn't aware of those complaints.
But you won't hear a peep out of me.
I get it because of the peep.
Oh, never mind.
Oh my God.
I know. That's the way I feel. Oh, my God.
It's opening day at Oracle Park today, too.
Oh,
I'm thrilled.
now that's news I can use.
I know. The Giants 3-3 on their season-launching home run happy road trip.
Unbelievable last night.
I know. They
Against
face
the
off against the
Sox,
Kansas City Royals, one of the American League teams victimized by our guys during their World Series run last decade. Take them down again, G-Men, please.
Yeah. Wow. Michael and I used to go to we used to go to the Giants games together when I was doing the news on NBC there in the Bay Area. We used to go in the break. Like I'd get like a break between the evening newscast and the 11 o'clock show, and I'd meet Michael at the park to watch a bunch of the game there at Candlestick.
Those afternoon games, absolutely fantastic.
And then in the afternoon, we would go also.
Oh, my God. And those were the good old days, question mark. They had yet to win a World Series as a San
it was
Francisco
Candlestick,
franchise.
which was awful. I mean, it was an
know.
awful place to see a game.
Well, speaking of entertainment,
Yes,
and
sir.
they were entertaining, let's get down to some new movies.
Yes, please.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, those good old Goodwill Hunting boys, have hunted up another project to work on together, and it's a very good one with caveats. Of course, I always have a few caveats.
Sure.
Air is the story of how the Air Jordan shoe brand came to be.
Caveats and a ding word.
Of course, but it's much more than that. Back in 1984, Sonny Vaccaro, a talent-savvy guy on the project development team at Nike, was desperate to juice the company's fallow basketball shoe division and thus retain his job, which was on thin ice at the time.
Hang on one second. Don't we have a picture of this? I thought we had.
I have provided you with many poster.
Yeah. Where are the visuals? Did you not get them, Tony? Maybe Tony didn't get them.
No,
Well, you know,
didn't send me that.
let's plow forward as the clock ticks on.
Let me see
but-
what
No, I'm
Actually,
gonna
if there
sit.
was a 24-second clock for this particular review, I'd have to shoot right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, so Vaccaro decided to woo college star Michael Jordan, who was purportedly set to make an endorsement deal with Adidas. Vaccaro convinced the doubting Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, to let him travel to North Carolina and try to get Jordan to go with Nike, which meant convincing the player's parents, especially his no-nonsense mother, Dolores. So you got Damon as Vaccaro, Affleck as Knight, and especially Viola Davis as mom Dolores Jordan. They are a joy to watch. They're put through their paces by director Affleck, and they are rocking razor-sharp dialogue from screenwriter Alex Convery. It's got a little bit of the Aaron Sorkin vibe to it, the bang-bang dialogue and what have you.
Sure.
Anyway...
it's a true story, obviously, right?
It is, of course. It's based on the story of how Air Jordans came to be. Anyway, Air, which also involves the development of the signature basketball shoe itself as a lure to get Jordan on board, is savvy and intimate while telling the story of a massive sea change in marketing, especially as it relates to the world of pro sports. Air is also kind of a bit of a mash note to a man some consider the greatest basketball player of all time. Damon, who's Vaccaro, isn't given much in the way of a backstory, and that's kind of a quibble on my part. Nonetheless, he is on point as a go-getter with his back against the wall, and Davis, who can seemingly do no wrong, is sterling and typically legit in a role that's light years away from her work in The Woman King or Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Also, nice work here from Jason Bateman and Chris Tucker as Nike staffers, and Chris Messina as Jordan's abrasive agent. Really, some funny bits from Messina. The relationship between Vaccaro and Mrs. Jordan, that's kind of the heart of the movie, and it beats really strong. And Affleck does his usual ace job behind the camera and in a supporting role as Knight. Air may not be in league with Affleck's Argo or The Town, both of which he directed, which were fantastic movies. And it may not be as jaw-dropping, as a Steph Curry three-pointer from way downtown, but damn, it was a rousing time at the cinema. One brief caveat: after a killer montage to Dire Straits' Money for Nothing that kicks off the movie, the 1980s pop music needle drops were occasionally a bit much. Otherwise, Air, More Than Fair, available in theaters this weekend.
Wow. All right. You liked it more or less.
I did. Let's pivot to what Kim was talking about. Based on the classic video game, right on the heels of last week's dramatization about the rise of the computer game Tetris, by the way, we have the Super Mario Brothers movie, a CGI animated exercise in IP exploitation and brand enhancement that is couched as a quest narrative for the lovable, rotund hero Mario and, to a lesser degree, his brother Luigi. Yes, we had a pretty crappy live-action Mario movie back in 1993 before some of our listeners were ever born, let alone played the game. That had the estimable Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, of all people.
Estimable is a ding.
They were wasted as the brothers, and the less said about that, the better. To its credit, this Mario Brothers movie has plenty of visual flash over its blessedly brief 90 minutes. Kiddies will like that. And there's an attempt to give the characters some in-universe real world connection. The brothers are hopeless but earnest plumbers from Brooklyn who are sucked into, I don't know, Nintendo World via a magic pipe portal in the sewers beneath New York City. They're separated, and in short order, Mario must team up with Princess Peach, lovely leader of the Mushroom People, to save the various kingdoms of the video game dimension from the tyrannical Bowser, and also rescue Luigi. So the script is about as original as, I don't know, basing another movie on a video game. Considering that it's about a video game franchise, you might think that ChatGPT wrote it, But no, it was a human. And somehow I think this might have been better had it been written by ChatGPT. And as a professional writer, I'm no fan of ChatGPT. Speaking of mushroom people,
I don't quite understand. He's got to go through the sewer system of New York to get to...
Well, there's a portal beneath the city, and all of a sudden they're in this strange dimension of other kingdoms.
I see.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Anyway, okay.
Does one of the Mario brothers have a drinking problem?
No, I think they have a mushroom problem. In fact, I think the screenwriter was on mushrooms when he wrote this. Anyway, as Mario himself might put it, it's a mediocre. Anyway, they loaded up on top-tier talent to voice the familiar characters. Chris Pratt as Mario, Charlie Day as Luigi. Get ready for this. Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. It's like the Princess's Gambit. Anyway.
I get it.
You get Jack Black as the villainous Bowser. Seth Rogen, perfectly cast as Donkey Kong. Think about it for a second. Fred Armisen as Kong's father and the ruler of the Kong Kingdom, or is that the King Kongdom? I don't know. They could have used less familiar but equally talented voice actors.
Exactly. These actors take work from such talented voiceover actors.
Agreed.
It makes me sick.
Agreed. So it's kids stuff with fan service for those who have played the various iterations of the video games that feature Mario, Luigi, and Donkey Kong. Anyway, this comes from Illumination Studios of the Gru, Minions, and Secret Lives of Pets animated franchises, so it ain't no Pixar or even DreamWorks. That said, it did zip by and have a few sparky moments and a couple of decent jokes. Oh, no, the jokes were terrible. Anyway, it's in theaters, and I think Kim and the family will probably enjoy it.
Wow.
But, it's disposable product. All right, wait. I got
what
one of
are
my...
you suggesting, that Kim's and her family are don't hold things to as high a standard as they should?
No, I
How
would
dare
never.
you?
I wouldn't do that on a holiday weekend.
My God.
Maybe the rest of the year. No.
Not in keeping with Easter, exactly.
Sorry,
Sorry, Kim. I thought that was a little bit...
I apologize. The blow
He
was
feels
okay.
it's good enough for your family, is what he's saying.
Right. I think to go see it. Doesn't matter what he says about it. I have to go.
No.
Kim agrees with you. I love it.
I just want you to understand that the kids are going to enjoy it. Absolutely.
Right.
And it does have its moments, all kidding aside.
All right.
My favorite movie this weekend is actually one of the best films I've seen this year. It's called, are you ready? How to Blow Up a Pipeline, okay? An unlikely team of environmental activists take on the fossil fuel industry and more with their plan in one of the smartest and best executed thrillers I've seen in a long time.
Wow.
How to Blow Up a Pipeline. It's everything its title suggests and much more, with detailed portraits of its committed group of rebels, how they came together, and there's a super tense depiction of their plan and how it might or might not achieve their ends as the possibility of failure, incarceration, or death looms large.
Wow, sounds good.
Although it's an adaptation of a controversial book by Andreas Malm that serves as a manifesto for those concerned by climate change,
Manifesto's a ding word.
Director and co-screenwriter Daniel Goldhaber has delivered a super topical, mighty relevant, and thoroughly explosive, mix of action, mystery, character study, and treatise that kicked butt from beginning to end.
Is a ding word.
The cast of relative unknowns gives it more of a real-life resonance than if familiar faces were on screen, and along with how it's shot, they give it a cinema verite documentary vibe that just makes it even more tense and impactful. Anyway, How to Blow Up a Pipeline in theaters this weekend. It's going to be great
I
for
may
home
go to
viewing.
the theater to see it.
And when it does come out on home viewing, it'll be fine. But man, oh man, it was fantastic in a theater. Too.
Wow. Okay, great.
Smart and savvy. Okay, let's lower our expectations for Paint. Paint is a slapdash comedy with dryly...
We love lowering our expectations. Let me tell you, my audience, bless them.
Yeah.
They already come to this show with expectations lowered. They're pre-lowered.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Paint. It's a slapdash comedy with some dryly witty
this
moments.
is that Bob Ross thing, right?
All right. Its dryly witty moments are outnumbered by clumsy missteps into not so amusing, even slightly discomforting situations. And you are right. They're attempting to find humor in the unique career and soothing but strange manner of iconic public TV art instructor Bob Ross.
So they played this as a comedy.
Yes, a comedy of manners and mores. And anyway,
is a dang word.
Paint takes what seemed like fertile material for parody and did not deliver a masterpiece, instead barely splattering the canvas.
I get it. Yeah, splattering the canvas. Yeah,
there is talent here. The movie is blessed with a solid cast led by Owen Wilson as popular Vermont PBS on-air painting teacher Carl Nargle, a hippie relic type whose niche stardom has fed his charisma, his sense that he's super important, and his chauvinism, as he's sort of deluded by this. And by the way, this is clearly an attempt to parody Bob Ross.
Chauvinism's a ding word.
In everything that Wilson does here, he's trying to do Bob Ross. This is essentially a somewhat unkind impression of Ross, or at least it came off that way to me, as a clueless Carl's ego runs wild. Ambrosia Long, a rival painter played by Ciara Renee, comes looking for TV exposure and begins to undermine Carl's cushy gig. So Wilson and Renee do what they can do, as does Michaela Watkins as Carl's producer and ex-girlfriend, the always reliable Stephen Root as the station manager, and Wendy McClendon Covey as a station employee and devoted Carl fan. At first, Paint, which, by the way, is written and directed by Britt McAdams, it felt like it might turn out to be kind of delightfully bent. And then it devolved in a sort of surprising miasma of mean-spiritedness.
Miasma's a ding word.
The intended satire isn't sharp or funny enough to sustain, that feeling. And
it's too bad. It sounds like actually the pitch is good. I love that the competing artists are trying to, get the It
has its moments. There are dark moments, and it just
misses.
It just misses, and the tone is all over the place in some ways. I wonder if the Bob Ross estate will have something to say about it. I got a feeling they might. But
Michael, it's in theaters, or where is it?
It is in theaters this weekend and coming to streaming in late May, so you can hold out, buddy.
Yeah.
I think you can hold out.
Michael, I must flip all the cards at this point. I love that we've gotten to 4 different movies and offerings for the weekend. Air, the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon reuniting to tell the Nike Air story. You liked it. You didn't love it. No, but you liked it.
I think it's very good. Again, it has a few glitches here and there, but I thought
You thought it was strong. Yeah, in general, you liked it. It's in theaters. The Super Mario Brothers movie is in theaters, and you'll see Kim with her family there if you're in the right theater at the right time. He didn't like it that much, but he said, if you've got a family, the kids will definitely like it, and it's a quick 90 minutes, and everybody will be happy. But don't hold it to too high a standard.
Not at all.
How to Blow Up a Pipeline was the one that he really liked for the weekend and beyond. It's a caper movie, in a sense. It's how these activists take on big oil, and it plays as a caper, and he says it's very good. It's in theaters, How to Blow Up a Pipeline. And then finally Paint, the Owen Wilson-led parody-ish send-up of Bob Ross that plays both comedy and dark, but he says it just misses.
Does not quite congeal. It's sort of, it's like watching paint dry. Just kidding. I'm sure there have been reviewers.
Is a ding. Yeah, I know.
I'd
really.
be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
All right, let's stop.
Oh my God.
Michael, congeal. A ding, please. Yeah, thank you. The reality is people can read you in the Marina Times. Did you have one other thing?
No, go to marinatimes.com and suck up some information about Dungeons and Dragons and Doctor Who Am I, and my column, The Coastal Commuter, is all about my obsession with all things French. So check it out.
I love when you just write. You're a good writer and you write. So I love your Coastal Commuter column, and I love your work in the Marina Times. You can find Michael here on Fridays. He comes and goes on a rainbow.
Happy Easter, happy Passover, happy Ramadan. Go Giants!
Yes, I love it. Wow. Well, that was pretty strong. We are a little bit late, as you know. Kim, I know, has to go over to the Nikki Maduro show. But let me just see something here. I've got to put my credibility glasses on, too.
There's some people to thank still.
Yes, I want to thank them, and I'm counting on your help to thank them.
My words upset so many people.
Can you? These aren't the people that are upset. Gail Guthrie, 1999, a quick 20, and a big Dan Ashley shout-out.
Big shout-out.
She sent this right out of the chute. Looking forward to Friday Fabulous Florida. I thought Friday Fabulous Florida this week, today, didn't disappoint. It was really great. So thank you, Gail. Thank you for always being there for us. So appreciate that. And B.O. Mark's Madness is a sham. What? My Elite 8 look good, despite no processes protocols, without Joe Box. The way they do this to me all the time, and it went downhill from there. Who do you appeal this to? I'm with you, B.O. I started so strong. B.O., thank you for the $10 super chat. And I must say, you can address your comments to themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, and I will pass them on to the commissioner's office. Jan Carpenter for $9.99. Thank you so much. Jan, thank you very much. Al Anonymous, a couple bucks. Here's some money for a tiny violin for Kim's illness. Lee Kopp for $20. Get well, Kim. From Lee and Eileen. Big shout out to Lee. Big shout out to Eileen.
Big shout out.
Patricia Latona for $5. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the $2. B.O. Yes, Mark, we all hope Kim makes it. She's touch and go. It will only be your dollars that keeps her in the land of the living. Joselito Benares, hello. I hope I said your name right. Thank you for being here, Joselito.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
I'm not going to cry, but you're a new contributor, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Joe Fong for $20. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Joe. Maria Curiel Pons for $5. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, Muriel and everyone else. Second donation from the 530, Chico. Big shout out to Chico. Mark, hope your dad is well. I know he's a great father because he raised a great son. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, have you considered having viewers call in? Love the show. Tony, I ask you about viewers calling in. Can they? How would we do that?
Thanks, Tony.
There are ways.
It's complicated. Tony's spoken about it. We may evolve to that place. Yeah, we may evolve to that.
We would need someone to screen it. So there's also
that's the problem. We're sort of threadbare when it comes to.
We could go screenerless and see how it goes, but either way, it's doable. There are ways.
It's possible. We are evolving, and so we'll evolve to that place. We hope. Vivian Alshawa for $5. Thank you, Viv.
Thank you.
Scott Rittenberg, love you all for those big money donations. Yeah. Blank, and Exile. Yeah, thank you all you PayPalers who've really stepped up with some real donations. And same thing with Patreon. You can see your names at the end of the show, and if we don't get everybody this show, we'll get you for next week, but we will recognize you then every show. Once your name is there, it will stay there. We thank you so much. Karen Q. Karen, Easter and Passover love right back at you. Big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you for the $10. Thank you, Walter. Aloha.
Big shout out.
Mahalo, as we say on the islands. And thank you all. Michael has left. You can, yes. Before we leave you, I do want to recognize the leaderboard to reiterate. If you joined us late, this was the culmination of Mark's madness. Tony, could you put the leaderboard up there and how it ultimately ended up? Daniel Martin is our champion, everyone. Daniel Martin. He has 51 points. No, this is... Oh, is he... Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he got it.
Yeah, but it shows that he's tied with Travis.
Oh.
Is that right or not?
But he has the PC is the higher number.
He has a better win loss. Yeah. So it's Daniel. Travis is next. Edward Lee, Sayo Jones, and Janet R. So those are your top 5. All of them will be receiving either merch or wine. I'm a little unclear myself. I know what they're not going to get, and that's a
new car.
Yeah, they're not going to get a new car, but they are going to get something, which in this show's history is extraordinary. So
you get nothing.
Yeah, it is possible to get nothing, but everybody there that you see on screen, Daniel Martin, Travis Black, Edward Lee, Sayo Jones, and Janet R., all of you will be getting something to recognize your first place through 5th place finishes. Really, really cool that everybody played. We had over 100 people who had brackets, and it was really quite an exciting season all the way to the very end. A lot of voting, and it was pretty cool. So thank you all. And there was no handicapping it, as you saw. I had one of the worst brackets after starting so strong. So it was a lot of fun. Well, we've done a lot here, and we've left a lot on the table for next time. Nikki's show is probably already underway. We're going to lose Kim to Nikki's show.
I'll put a link in the chat.
All right, thank you. We love our Nikki and we love our Kim, and we want their show to be a place that you go next.
You got 12 minutes of extra Mark Thompson show today.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to cut Michael Snyder short. You understand. We try to give you clean content and not be a slave to the clock all the time. Usually we get off on time, so this is sort of an exception. It's Easter weekend. May all of your eggs and all of your rebirth and all of your festivals and all of your pagan rituals, may they all work for you. We love you all. The religious, the unreligious, everybody. Thank you for making us part.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
We're available to be replayed and to be shared. Hit the like button.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Till Monday. Bye-bye.